Hi, Year 12. So I wanted to take you through my own thought process when I analyse a text, and this will be helpful for you when you start to analyse more text for paper one. This is very helpful for the practice that you're doing at the moment. So for today's video, I'm going to analyse the Jeremy Lin text that you've already started to look at in class and that you've already started to analyse as well. What I want you to do is pay close attention to how I analyse and annotate this text, because what you need to do in the first 15 minutes of the paper one exam, number one, is read the text for understanding. That's the first thing you need to do, is read the text from top to bottom before you even pick up a pen. The second round of reading that you do need to pick up a pen and a highlighter and start to actually annotate the text, which is what I'm going to take you through today. Now, my annotations are not excessive. I've just annotated what's necessary for you to be able to do the activity that we've been working on in class. But I do want you to pay attention to the way that I work through the text and the sorts of things that I pick out that can be useful, I guess, to put in my paragraphs later on for paper one. So what's the most important thing, Year 12, is that when you get a text, no matter what kind of text it is, that you look at the text and you read the text from the hair to the toes, which means from the very, very top all the way to the bottom, because anything that the IB includes in the text is there for a reason and it's there for you to analyse, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I notice straight away that there are some icons at the top of the screen, all right? I can see a Facebook share sign here. I can see that there are some breadcrumbs here which tell me where this article or this text, sorry, can be found. And I can also see some tabs at the top here as well. So on the right-hand side, if you have a look at my annotations, what I've said is that there's tabs, there's a link to Facebook, and there's a share icon. There's breadcrumbs which tell us that this is found in the trending section. And so what I've said is that each of these features signifies that the text is aimed at online audiences, particularly those who are interested in popular trending topics. Now, how do I know that? Because I'm in trending here. That's where this particular text has been found. That's the category. So it might interest people who aren't fast news fans. And that's really just due to the fact that it's got entertainment, trending, humour videos at the top here as well. It is a tabloid, and I know it's a tabloid because of a couple of things. Number one, there's lots of images, there's big text. The language, as you go through, you'll see there's quite a lot of colloquialisms and informal language. And there is a little bit of sensationalism there as well. And those are all features of a tabloid. Now, it's not just a tabloid, it's an online tabloid. And I know that because of the textual features that I've just gone through then that make up a website as well. Now, in terms of the audience, I'm saying here on the right-hand side that this tabloid might interest readers or audience members who are fans of the NBA in particular, if you're an NBA fan. More specifically, if you're a fan of Jeremy Lin, or maybe you don't like Jeremy Lin, you might also read this text. And it could just be anyone who's familiar with the contextual background of this particular text. So what happened before this text was written? If you knew about it, you might read about it. Okay, so that's me going from the hair. Let's get a little bit further down. If you have a look here, I've highlighted a couple of other things as well. So if you pay attention to the heading, it says Asian NBA star snaps back in the best way after criticism over his dreadlocks. So I've said snaps back in the best way. This straight away, Year 12, gives us the opinion of the author. So straight away, I know which side of the fence that the author is going to be on. I know their opinion, and I can tell that straight away by saying in the best way that the author is really supportive of what Jeremy Lin has done. So the purpose of the text, I could assume at this point, is to elaborate on the narrative behind this event. They're going to tell us more about it and persuade audiences to praise Lin's reaction to his criticism. So by saying he snapped back in the best way after criticism, it means that the author is supportive of that, and I'm obviously going to hear more about that in this text. All right. The other thing that is important to draw your attention to is snaps back is a little bit of a colloquialism. It's informal as well. So you could say that it's use of colloquial language, and this can kind of indicate to us that the audience might be a little bit more young and hip because they understand, I guess, that kind of lingo. So people like you guys. All right, Lynn's sanity. So it says here, if you're not familiar with NBA star Jeremy Lin, then you probably don't know about the Linsanity, and again, that's in inverted commas, he caused during his tenure with the New York Knicks. So it's a play on words there as well. It is in quotation marks on purpose, and that implies that it's, you know, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, kind of sarcastic, but it's referring more so to the NBA incident that obviously involved Lin, and it's a play on words that's used his surname to indicate the chaos that's been caused. So it kind of adds a sense of that lighthearted humour and works to praise Lin's playing skills. It also gives us that it's almost a lighthearted but sarcastic tone of voice here as well. There's emphasis on the pun of Linsanity. You'll notice here that there is a hyperlink. So the use of hyperlinks, again, just supports the idea that the text type is for online audiences and it's an online tabloid, all right? Okay, let's have a look further down. So if you have a look here, I've highlighted flagrant fouls. This is alliteration. So the repetition of the F sound, and that alliteration here, year 12, is just used to emphasize the unfair treatment that's been placed on Lin while he's been playing on the court. So flagrant foul, emphasizing that it's not just a foul, it was a flagrant foul. The author then goes on to say that Lin's response to the video was nothing but pure class. So there is that, I guess, bias coming in from the author there, again siding with Jeremy Lin. It's slightly emotive in its language as well, and kind of telling us straight away, measuring the fact that the actions were to be praised. So nothing but pure class. And if we go down a little further as well, you'll start to see that the structure of the text changes. So if you were going to talk about style and structure, there's much to discuss here. You can see that they've also included a lot of different hyperlinks. In particular, there's the inclusion of this video of Jeremy Lin. And so what I'm talking about here as there's a change in the text structure is I'm saying that the links to the videos and the tweets that are scattered throughout the article are then separated by shortened text. So it's really not long, extensive text. It generally justifies, guys, who the text is being aimed towards, because online users who enjoy reading things that are trending or entertaining topics can then easily just navigate their way through the text, through the tabloid, and just click on links if they want to get more context about another story that links to Jeremy Lin, and anything else that's trending that can be associated with perhaps any of these topics. So the structure, it's very particular in terms of this online tabloid, and it's making it quite accessible for readers, and I guess persuading them to go further into the story and delve further into the context of Jeremy Lin and of the NBA. Now, if you have a look down here, we can see that it's Asian American athlete. A lot of people would say that that is alliteration, and in a sense it is, but more so it's metonymy, because when we look at metonymy, it's when we can sometimes use a label or an object to, I guess, replace saying someone's name or replace actually calling the thing that it is. So Asian American athlete here, they're referring to Jeremy Lin, but they're using that description or that label instead. All right. Now, notice that the article or the text is supposed to be telling us that Jeremy Lin has snapped back about criticism for the fact that he's wearing dreadlocks, and it only gets into the actual point of the article about a page in. So in terms of structure, the author really gives us a whole heap of context first behind Jeremy Lin and all the other bad things that have happened to him first, and you've got to think, how does that build the author's purpose? Obviously, they're trying to evoke some sympathy in the audience members before they even get to the point of what the story's about, which is about Jeremy Lin wearing dreadlocks and being an Asian American athlete and being criticised by other people. So what I've said here is, in terms of structure, the author spends a great deal of time providing that context to us first, and the issue of the dreadlocks really isn't mentioned until about halfway through. So he really, or he or she really, tries to build a sense of empathy from the audience. Now, you'll notice here that the author says, Lin responded to Martin's statement with nothing but respect. So there's that repetition there again, and the bias and opinion of the author is very clear. So the author's purpose, again, is to defend and praise Jeremy Lin and challenge and oppose those who've criticised his actions. So there's also an invitation for audience to try and accept that ideology of the author, that Jeremy Lin's a good person and that he's been hard done by. And the reason we know that is because it says above this section that he responded with nothing but class, and now there's that repetition of he responded to the statement with nothing but respect. So there's a repetition of phrases there as well, highlighting again what the author's purpose is to get us to be on Lin's side. If you have a look at the next sentence, year 12, more colloquial language, which justifies the fact that it is aiming at a slightly younger audience or a more hip, youth cultured audience. Colloquial language to cater to these trending audiences by calling, I think his name is Kenyon Martin, Kmart, which is really common when we're talking about celebs these days. Also, delivering a solid burn can also be seen as a bit of a colloquialism. It does evoke some imagery as well, but it's that idea of, oh, you got burned, and that can be also something that's, I guess, modern lingo, that perhaps your 70 or 75-year-old grandmother would not be aware of what that means. Now, you'll notice that there are a whole bunch of tweets as you continue to make your way through this text. So the inclusion of the tweets here, we're going back to structure, works to then showcase Jeremy Lin as a humble person, and the overall implied meaning of the text is that Lin is actually a hero and he's someone who we should all look up to and who we should learn from in terms of the way that he's handled this negative situation. So by actually showing us what he wrote word for word, it allows us to, I guess, perceive Jeremy Lin in this humble light. And what I have also said here is that the inclusion of the social media tweets implies that, yes, the audience has to be online users. There's a lot of colloquial language, there's acronyms and abbreviations in the tweets as well, guys. And so if you are someone who doesn't use social media, if you don't know what TBH means, you're not going to be able to decode that. So obviously, once again, we're not aiming at an audience who are not social media users or not online users as well. All right, you'll notice that the author has also included Kenyon Martin's tweet on Jeremy Lin. So it's quite a negative one. And by including this tweet straight after Jeremy Lin's really positive tweet, it really works to paint Kenyon Martin in this text as the villain in the narrative. So again, that works to then support the author's purpose and endorse the author's purpose, which is to get us to support and praise Jeremy Lin and to defend him, of course. Now, I'm not going to go through every single image and every single tweet, but what I will say is that all of the remaining images and tweets, what that is a visual narrative for the readers, and then it adds some humor as well, because you'll notice that some of the tweets are quite tongue-in-cheek or sarcastic or mocking. So it does add an entertaining factor as well. So if we were concluding what the purpose of the text is, we could really just say that the purpose of the text is to defend and praise Jeremy Lin while also persuading audiences to adopt that perception, I guess, as well. So if you look through all of these tweets, there are some funny ones. And really that just adds to the lighthearted sense of this tabloid as well. Last thing that we'll look at is this action figure that someone has tweeted with the caption, Jeremy Lin walking away peacefully. So again, just to justify, including that kind of tweet shows him as a hero, a public figure who we should praise and who we should learn from. So I hope that that gives you a little bit more of an insight as to how you can approach textual analysis, particularly when you've got an online text like this. It's important to go from the top to the bottom. When you go and have a look back at your own analysis, I want you to see where are some gaps in your thinking as well, and if there's anything that you missed out that you can also add in. So we will keep doing this in class, and hopefully this was helpful to you just to see how you should be working through your textual analysis.